So, just to give a brief about Nikhil, Nikhil has been mentoring students and working professionals for people who want to study abroad for the masters, for the MBA for the last 3 years. He has been mentored more than 2,000 students till now. He himself has been an international student as well, with number of publications, scholarships, and a good amount of what I guess digital marketing opportunities, ventures, and a good international exposure. So yeah, so I guess this would do, Nikhil. Okay,
Okay,
to you. You have the floor.
sure. Just give me a second. Okay. Hi guys, myself Nikhil, as what Saurav has already told a little bit about myself. So I basically was a graduate from IIT BHU as a mining engineer, and then shifted from one field to another. So I had experienced basically, career shifting, mining to petroleum, and then had additional interest like digital marketing, sales, operations in my profile, and published I think dozens of like half a dozen of papers and book chapters in my undergrad also. Uh, did more than around 20 internships of different fields. So I can definitely give you more insights about how to do internships in some fields in which you have never, gotten the experience on. And then probably I've been to I think 6 to 7 countries. My last country was where I was studying my PhD in Australia, Melbourne. So yeah, so that's basically me. Now let's head on to the presentation. So yeah, we'll be discussing predominantly profile building for top universities and scholarships. That's what everyone is interested in. So as we see, I've just covered certain expectations that we were discussing. What do the admission officers look for into a profile? How do we build profile along with jobs or masters or MBA? Opportunities that you can take best advantage of, you know, and how do you want to take advantage of those kinds of opportunities? Okay, and then how do you want to apply to the universities, and what do the universities look for in your profile? Okay, that's something you might want to know. And then process for applying to universities in general, and then good university, as I've already done research for you, don't worry. So by the end of this session you would get a list of good universities for Germany, biotech. And for immigration, is masters the only way for bachelor students? That's a very interesting question. I'll definitely guide you on that. Okay, so yeah, this is me, mining engineer, lifting rocks in research to going in international students, Sydney, Melbourne, been to these many countries already, predominantly in Southeast Asian countries I've been to. And yeah, was a PhD scholar, now an entrepreneur. This is my profile, just to give you a quick understanding about how the profile looks like. Yeah, when I was graduating, I had like 7.4, which is not a very high score considering to our college standards. I just had one international publication. Yeah, I did around 20 internships, non-tech, tech, campus ambassadorships, and all those stuff, as what a lot of college students do. And trust me, it's very helpful. I did 4 research internships. All the summers that I had, I definitely spent time in my research internships at IIT Roorkee and IIT Bombay. It was definitely not a paid internship, but that's something I did it out of my interest and passion to learn. But it did give me one international publication, which is really important. Okay, if you're doing your masters by research, or if you're going for PhD and such. PhD did certain stuffs, not very much of interest to you guys, but yeah, this is my profile. Okay, so it's just to give you an understanding where I come from and how can I probably add value to your understanding. Okay, so yeah, some happy memories. Okay, 30 and the 30 Bombay Stock Exchange. Yeah, next let's get to something really interesting. Okay, profile building. I'm sure a lot of you were asking the questions about profile building. So these are the things that we're going to discuss in profile building. Okay, what we will be going to discuss is your academic scores, your internships, research assistantship, teaching assistantship experiences, your publications, if any, project certifications, awards, entrepreneurship, your PORs, volunteering, job experiences. Okay. But to sum it up first, to give you a very crux, pre-captured summary, is your overall profile matters. Okay, it's not your GRE score or your TOEFL score or your IELTS score or your CGPA, or your internship. none of these matters individually. It's an overall profile which will matter. So some of you may have, I would say, let me get this highlight. Yeah. So some of you may have this academic CGPA, lower, okay, and some of you would be having, not so good internships. Some of you will be having good research assistantship. Some of you don't have the teaching assistantship, okay. Many of you will not have publications. Many of you will have projects, and most of you will have some certifications, okay. Some of you may have awards, may not have awards, okay. Okay. Entrepreneurship, not everyone's cup of tea. Position of responsibility, yes. Volunteering, many of you would have done. Job experiences, maybe keeping, 50-50. Okay. Not everyone is right now getting into a job. Okay. So this could be a variation, right? So when we talk about this could be a variation, but I can bet you all of you will get into a good university, provided you follow the steps that we're gonna discuss in this meeting. Okay. You with me on this? Just raise your hands in your this thing. I want to keep it more interactive. I want to know, if you are okay with this. You can always raise your hand just like other people have raised. Okay. And yeah, great. So every one of you want to get into a good university, and I would want every one of you to get into a good university. Okay. No more, getting into a bad university or struggling for your finances, paying off a huge loan burden. I'll tell you one story, one simple one-line story. From class 10 till my PhD, I was fully funded all the time. All the time. I belong to a low middle class family. Okay, my father father retired at a salary of 5,000 rupees a month. Okay, in that situation I have lived. And I have not lived, I've lived happily. Okay, I've been to more than 20 cities in India. I've been to more than 6 to 8 countries all over the world, all through scholarships, fundings, and supports. Okay, so you guys can eventually do that. And I was not a gold medalist. I was not a top university scholar or something. I was a pretty average student. Pretty average student. Okay, from a pretty average student, I built my profile till date. Okay. So you guys can definitely do that. That's something to remove all your myths. Hey, I'm not able to do, I'm feeling low about my scores, I don't know what to do. You will do that. Okay, build that confidence. You will do that. Just follow the process, and that's the process we're going to discuss today. Call it a secret process, call it a good process, which many of you may not know. Okay, so yeah, let's discuss one by one all the points. Academic scores, CGPA. Okay, so in CGPA, when we talk about, it's an overall grade point average. Many of you who are applying now, they may not have received your transcripts, your complete degree, or your last semester. So for them, their cumulative would be a little different than their final cumulative. That's fine. But try to keep your CGPA, okay? Try to keep your CGPA somewhere around, if I have to probably write this, okay? Somewhere around greater than 7 at minimum, and recommended would be greater than 8, okay, out of 10. It is a recommended figure. I'm again saying it's not a mandatory figure. It's a recommended one. If you still get somewhere around, let's say 6.5, that's going to be a little challenging, but it's not going to be impossible. The lower you score, the more you have to work in these aspects. Okay, that's how. Something will be low, so something has to be high to superimpose. Okay, to overlap basically. Okay, so that's something will be there. Next, in CGPA, what you can do is try to pick subjects. Okay, if you are planning for, let's say, business analyst, profile in future. Okay, if you are planning to go into finance field, you may want to do your masters in finance. Okay, so what are the subjects that you will be studying in future in finance? Based on that, any relevant or related subject is there in your current course, try to score most in that. With that specific subject, you may score 7 out of 10 overall, okay, but your that very subject you may have scored 90%, okay. So that's something would be really important for you in your statement of purpose, in the transcripts that they will look at. And trust me, I've worked with many admission officers also in Australia while I was studying. In even Germany, I have friends who have worked with admission officers. They look through every subject in your transcript. How much have you scored? And what they will see, if your subjects matching to the profile has higher scores, you will get a better preference. Okay, so that's something you have to work out. Okay, so if you're studying masters in finance, you may have some finance or economics courses in your bachelor's, score more in that. Okay, if you're studying, let's say, accounting in future, you have accountancy, score higher in that. Okay, so that way individual subjects also is important than the overall profile. Okay, so yeah, CGPA, I'm sure now everyone is clear. 70% you need to target. If you're targeting somewhere around 65%, try to score better in individual subjects. And that's something you will be able to write down in your statement of purpose, personal statement, motivation letters, and all those things. Okay. Next is internships. When you are looking at internship, definitely a foreign internship is more valuable than a domestic internship. That's one general, broad perspective. But we all know, let's get real. Out of 10 people, one may be getting a foreign internship in general. 9 will be doing a domestic internship, basically in India. Okay, a national internship rather. So, how would you still be able to compete with other international students from India, like students who are applying from India to your target course, and students who are applying from different countries like Sri Lanka, Australia, Germany, Japan, China predominantly for your course? How would you compete with them? To compete with them, what you can essentially do is focus on one specific thing. Okay, profile of internship. Okay, yeah, we will get to that definitely. I'm not seeing currently the questions. We'll first discuss this, then we'll get to the Q&A. Okay, I hope is that fine. I thought it's fine. Okay, so profile of internship. Okay, so when you are looking at, internship, profile of internship at average companies is greater than basic profiles at top companies. Your profile has to be really relevant, related, and good. When I say profile, it's basically the task given to you, the kind of work that you have done in that internship, the kind of impact that you have created in that internship. It's very important. When I was doing those 20 internships, I rejected more than 70 to 80 internship offers also. And not all the 20 internship was paid for me. I have literally funded from my own pocket to do a couple of internships. Those were amazing internships because their profile, the kind of work I was doing was really great. Okay, just give me a second. Yeah. So, profile of internship, as we were discussing, foreign is always better than domestic. If you get it, it's good because it will not just be an internship, it will be a cultural exposure for you. Going abroad doesn't mean you are working there. Going abroad means you are basically studying there and mixing up with other people also. I'm so sorry, guys. Unwanted calls. So yeah. So when we are talking about internships, profile is important. When you look into the profile, let's say if you are planning to go into finance, try to get into a company which is into finance and try to get a profile which is into financial domains. Your work should be around financial domains. Okay. If you are going for marketing roles in future, if you're going for MS in marketing, try to get into a role immediately which is into marketing. Okay. And that way you will be basically doing better in your overall profile building. Okay. So yeah, that's something will be important. Okay. So yeah, so in terms of internships now, if you look at, okay, number one is foreign versus domestic, number two is top company versus average company, number three is top profile versus basic profile. Don't do internships which is not at all relevant to your target masters. Okay, even if you do it for, let's say, financial purpose. Look, I was doing my PhD and masters into oil and gas. I never showcase my marketing internships into my resume or even in my profile for applying that I did marketing internship. Never I did that. It's really negative impacts. Okay, so if you're doing other internships also, it's good for you, it's good for your overall profile, but it's not very much relevant or important for your target university or a top university in which you're applying. Okay, so try to do everything in streamline. If you are aiming to get into as we say, as an insurance analytics, okay, or let's say valuation analyst, or if let's say a fund manager, okay, or private equity or VC fund manager, let's say. Okay, so for those, if you get into more profiles which is more of an analyst level roles, it would be really important. Though it is not very easy to get it, you can still negotiate a do the jugaad, I would say, or you can write to them, hey, I really want to do it. It's okay if they're not paying it, it's fine. But if you get that kind of profile on your resume, it's going to be a really kick-ass profile for your masters. Okay, instead of doing a simple basic sales role and then looking into a financial analytics kind of masters, it would be difficult for you to justify those profiles. Okay. uh, so yeah, that's how the internship profile is going to be decided. But for an internship finding, I'll just give you a quick thoughts, and then later on we'll discuss probably in details. Is there are a bunch of sites available online, like Youth Opportunities, Oya Opportunities. Those are the sites that you can easily refer to and apply. The other ways to do that is definitely Googling. Okay, no one beats the Googling skills. If you can Google more internships, that's going to be there. The way I got my first international internship, and this is something you may want to look at. It is not exactly like living in foreign or working in foreign, but yes, working for international companies by studying, by living in India. So I was working for this company from New York and Nevada and Colorado while I was studying in India, and I was getting paid in dollars. And specifically, if I can clearly remember, somewhere around $10 to $20 per hour I was getting paid. And yeah, it literally worked out for me. I can still recommend that, hey, I worked in a US company, though I didn't go there, but I still worked for almost like a year with them. Yeah. So that's something you can easily do, and that's more possible than even going abroad because of the visa issues. Okay, so yeah, that's one of the creative ways that you can definitely plan for. The next thing that you would look at is research assistantship. If you are not getting internships, okay, or if you're not going for internships, it's good to go for research assistantship, provided your aim is to go for masters by research, which is a 2 years course, okay, or PhD, which is definitely 3 to 5 years course. Okay, in that, research assistantship really matters. Or if you have a research based programs, that something that you're applying, let's say product management or product development kind of a masters, there are in those notes, you can always go. Even if you're going for a management consultant masters, research assistantship in IIM or any management institution would be really important. Okay. That's how you can do. And to do that, foreign versus domestic, yes, important. Working under a really top professor is the most important thing. It doesn't matter if the professor is from India or abroad. But if the professor is really good, his recommendation will do wonders for you. Okay, I got 3 funded programs just because of one good recommendation, and that recommendation comes from someone who is an established person in the society of international academics. So when you are looking at research assistantship, how do you want to apply? Proper emailing. Okay, draft a very formal email, research about the professor's interest, write to them that you are interested to work with them. Try to go for at least 3 months. They usually don't prefer 1 to 2 months. Okay, try to apply for 3 months. Go there, work around. If you still have, let's say, limited time, then you can ask them that, hey, I can do some work from home and I'll extend it for 2.5 months. I'll work from home. That's again is possible. But seeing the COVID, it's far more easy opportunity for you, because a lot of professors would be hiring research interns, but for virtual work. Okay, so that way you can easily do better. You have a better chance. In the general domain. Okay. So that's how you will be applying for research assistantship. For research assistantship, what you can essentially do is write an email with a cover letter. Basically, your email should be having a cover letter. Don't attach your cover letter. Your email is the cover letter. Okay, and keep it like 3 paragraphs at max. Don't make it like an essay. It will bore the professor to death, and he will never, he'll not complete your email. He'll just put it on spam or put it on delete or archive it. Okay? Write a 3 paragraph at max. I remember writing around 1.5 paragraph for most of the emails. Just a very concise, precise note that I'm looking for this, and if it's feasible, I can probably send you further details. Okay. If they are interested, they will respond to you. If they are not, they'll say no or they'll not respond to you, so that you will save a lot of time that way. But just don't write a 1-liner or 2-liner to any professor. It would be again really bad impression. It will put a really bad impression while you are writing to the professor, and your tone of writing, your body of writing is not formal enough. Okay. So coming to the teaching assistantship, I'm not sure if your university allows for teaching assistantship, but let's say if it allows you, if there is a possibility for you to teach students certain courses, or maybe take tutorial classes for certain students, interdepartmental or intra-departmental, do that. If you can assist a professor and get probably a certificate from them that you are assisting professor in their course preparations. A lot of TAs basically, TA is basically teaching assistant, help professor in scheduling the exam paper, correcting the exam paper, putting down the marks and all those trivial and menial tasks. It's also important, okay? Because that basically aligns you towards the academy. But teaching assistantship is predominantly important if you're going for PhD level opportunities. If you're going for masters and all, it's okay, it's not very much important. Publication, again, it's important for only 2 kinds of profile. If you have a master's by research, basically if you're trying for 2 years masters, or else if you're trying for PhD. For MBA, it's not much of a concern. If you have it, it's like a cherry on a pie. If you don't have it, it's fine. Okay, it is just an add-on thing. If you are writing I'll tell you how to write a paper. I've written my first paper in 2nd year, though it was not a paper I'll be very proud of. Okay, but it was my first paper in a national conference. Basically, when you are doing a literature review, your research, your surveys and all, you can compile it, form it like a project report, okay, and then try to find out some recent journals or conferences. National conference versus international conference. International would always be better, but if not national conference, you can publish it as a paper in a national conference also. That's the easiest way of getting a paper published. Once you have a publication, it will be listed on Google Scholar. You can see that, and you can just put a citation of that and mention it in your resume. That's the best way to get it. Very easy process. If you're writing a project report, try to write it nicely, see how a paper is written, write it down in form of a paper, get it published in a conference or a journal. If possible, get it published in a journal. Again, international journal is better than national journal. If not conference, again international conference is better than national conference. And all those conferences journal, be very careful if you're not publishing in a banned journal or an infamous journal or any infamous conference. That's something you can easily see what kind of papers have been published in that journal or conference, and how many people have cited those papers. If a paper is published, a lot of researchers will use that paper for their own research, and when their research is published, this paper gets a mention. Just like I used to write on LinkedIn, you wrote something on LinkedIn which was of someone else, you added your own inputs and you gave credits, right? Same way research also happens. The more credits that particular paper gets, the better the paper becomes, the better the journal or conference becomes. Okay, so that's how you can evaluate whether it's a good conference or not. You can always get to us, we can definitely guide you. I know it's a little complicated process, you might be overwhelmed with this, but don't worry, it's something that we can work out here. Then coming to the very, very important aspect, projects. Okay, this is something which you have a control upon. Okay, you can do projects easily by yourself, by your departmental support, by the industrial support, by external supports, or by community collaborations also. Okay, so projects doesn't always mean those industrial typical projects, though it is one of the part, but it's not the only part. A lot of students, they go for these summer training and they do projects and they pay hefty amount. It's not a very wise option, I would say, because you can do a lot of the same things without paying a penny, and you can do far better than what is given. Okay, so let me tell you how it works. I have done close to, I think, 12 to 15 projects in social media, research, marketing, operations, sales, and my hardcore mining engineering also. So in projects, as we classify, one would be an industrial project. Okay, so when we talk about industrial project, there would be one industrial company, basically a company or a startup you may want to work with for their specific project. Okay, so let's say one of the intern who were working with us from Germany, okay, he was working on making a special ebook for all the master's aspirants in management. We'll be launching that ebook probably in the next 1 month. It's like a handbook for all students who wants to study abroad in masters in management. Okay, and that one ebook contains most of the important information that you will need to apply. So that is basically a strategy level role. He did a project writing that ebook, publishing that ebook, doing all the marketing and all those things. That's the way you can eventually help other startups or work in other companies do one small project. It doesn't have to be like a very big project, but try not to do a small element in a big project. Try to do one big element of a small project. That will be okay, because that way you will learn a lot. You will be able to do a lot of things. Imagine that guy is not just researching, but writing the book, designing the book, publishing the book, doing all the marketing planning, doing all the sales planning, doing all the lead gen planning, everything by himself, with some assistance definitely from design, from content side, but he's doing most things by himself. So that is something you may want to try it out, and that is the biggest add-on. Trust me, I got more than 26 job offers. Most of the job offers was because I did two good projects in travel and this hyper local grocery market. Okay, it was more of a sales ramp up and marketing of growth hacking projects which I did with them, two companies, and that's something I put it as a case study for other companies to look at. Hey, this is the project I've done, you may want to look at it. Okay, and that's something will give you a big advantage over anyone who is applying for an internship or a master's or MBA. Okay, because you have gotten maturity, and having a maturity is something that you can do by doing things, not by reading. I never read like aptitude tests or these CAD blogs and all. Never. I usually read Google Analytics, marketing and all, because that's something is important for me to do the things, and that's something I would recommend you if you're trying to do things after learning. It is amazing thing to do, and you must try it out. So that's something you can definitely collaborate with industry. Write an email to one of the CEOs. Hey, I want to do a project in this and this field. And do a little bit of research. It's like if someone is writing an email, hey, I want to do a mechanical engineering project. We are not a mechanical engineering company. How can we even give a project? Okay. So do those basic research once you are applying to the kind of companies and all. Okay? Basic research really helps you to get a better answers or a good response or maybe a conversion. Okay. Second and easier way is go to your professor, go to your head of department, ask them for a project. Hey, I want to do a project. Is there any projects available? Please, if you can guide me. They will not take you directly in. I know that's how it works. They will ask you to read certain things. Probably a month of reading will be there, and don't consider this project to be done in a month. There is no specific timeline. Usually, it starts from 3 months and maybe a year also. So it's a long process because you will be doing some projects for that. You might have to do some extra readings also. Okay. So yeah, so departmental or institute level projects, if you get it, try doing it. If you don't get both, something which I have faced few times, do personal projects. How can you do personal projects? Probably pick up an industry, try to build a website. Okay, website building is not rocket science. Again, there are a lot of website builders are there. Just drag and drop, build something. Google site is there. Okay, and do certain marketing campaigns. Read this blog if you are into marketing or growth hacking or business understanding. There is one interesting blog that I can definitely recommend you. Probably have to write it down. growthhackers.com, and there's one called backlink.io, and then Neil Patel. So these are some blogs that it's my industry blog. There might be different other industrial blogs for your interest, or else you can definitely read Harvard Business Review. Okay. So Harvard Business Review definitely publishes a lot of good articles. So make a habit of reading. Okay. Make it a habit of reading at this stage because it's going to help you a lot. The Ken is there, Finimize is there, FinShots is there. Read more. Try to write more case analysis. Solving a case study is again important. How did Coca-Cola achieve this kind of revenue? Can you understand this and probably fragment that analysis that they did this because of which the numbers have ramped up? There are certain hitbacks or mitigation measures that they have tried. You can probably describe those situations and write a case study. Couple of people that you can always follow to understand is Aviral Bhatnagar on LinkedIn. Pratyush Chaudhary is there. So they do write certain case examples. You can always do that. Okay. So that's the way you can always write case studies and you can publish those case studies. Make a WordPress blog or make a simple blog or a Google site, publish your case studies, and that URL of your website, put it in your resume or mention to the professor to whom you are applying for your master's or management degrees. Hey, I've written certain case studies also. You can always check it out. This something shows your leadership and dedication traits, and that is really important for your masters. Okay. Then comes certifications. When you talk about certifications, there are many kinds of certifications, but I've classified into two different types. One is more which is industrial recognized certifications, which is like CA, CPT, CPA, or CMA, CBA, CFA, okay, FRM. So these are the industry recognized certifications in finance, accounting, management, and all. Okay, so that's something you can always do. Okay, in parallel, if you're going like a CFA level 1, it really helps. If you're going like an FRM also, it really helps. If you're going with CMA or CPA, CPA is basically like CA but for US and Canada. Okay, so that's something you can always do. ACCA is also there. So those are again the long-term certification investments. Okay, that something will not happen in a month, but it will happen in some years, and that will add a big value for your immigrations, for your jobs, for even getting scholarships, masters, and for even sometimes they don't ask for GMAT if you have a CMA like CFA level 1 or level 2. So that's something is also there. Okay. So next is can you mute? Yep. So, and then your entrepreneur awards. Awards is basically if you get an academic award, it will always be considered on a top priority. But it's also good to have leadership award, which definitely is very competitive to academic awards. And then comes your sports and cultural awards. Again, in the awards, the order is international, national, the regional, and then college level. Okay, so that's important. Entrepreneurship or organizational. If you have a startup or if you are engaged with a startup, do mention that. It's really important. Try to engage with startups at a very early stage. Your neighbor friends or your neighbor roommate might be doing some startup. Do engage with them, or probably start something of your own. This is an era where you can easily do a startup. You don't need funding and all. Internet startups are very cheap to build. Maybe in $1,000 you can build a venture. I built ventures in $1,000. That's what I'm saying. That okay. Organizational responsibilities is like you become a convener or a club head or an organizer. You did something impactful in those organizations in the college societies. It's important to mention that will be really important for your MBA and management courses. Okay, it may not hold a lot of importance in your SEM courses, but in management courses it is important. Same with if you're targeting for MBA, MIM or MSB or MIF, these are the things which will be important. And then volunteering again holds a very, very high reputation abroad for your MBA program. If you're volunteering in an NGO, it's far better than the college initiatives. So you can always do college initiatives at a bigger level, but if you're doing an NGO, that's even better. Okay. And then job experience. As I told you, your basic profile has to be very streamlined. It's not like one-time sales, one-time marketing, one-time finance, one-time analytics. It has to be a little consistent. Sales marketing still goes hand in hand, so you can always do that. But analytics is something it's a little outcast. Okay? The same industry is better than different industry. Basically, if you're going for NBFCs in future, try to work for an NBFC or a bank or an NBFC kind of a startup as of now. That will really help you, okay, for your masters. Because in masters they would also ask you that what do you want to do after that, okay? What kind of impact do you want to create after your masters? And that answer is really thought through if you understand this process, okay? So yeah, that's the major profile building. The other elements that I would quickly touch upon is, so in letter of recommendations, if we look at, just give me a second. Yeah, in the letter of recommendations, if we look at it, your professor's letter of recommendation, your internship supervisor or mentor's recommendation, or your job employer's boss or manager's recommendation. Someone whom you have closely worked with, their recommendation matters more than anyone else. Okay, so that's one thing you may want to look at it. Okay, yes, yeah. Then your GRE or GMAT scores, statement of purpose. Statement of purpose again matters, and it's one of the most important thing in your entire application. So when you're looking for statement of purpose, it basically is your storyline. Whatever we have discussed in the past, why you have done that and why it's important is something that you're going to write in your statement of purpose. Don't worry, we'll try to get you a tool which you are building right now for statement of purpose that will help you to design some better statement of purpose. And we have done certain templates for that. If you're enrolling, if you're applying for your masters, you can definitely grab those templates. But it's always recommended not to copy or not to take inspiration from other statement of purpose. Your statement of purpose has to be a story. And trust me, admission officers has those algorithms, has those ATS kind of systems which will check if you have taken any inspiration or copied from someone. GRE, GMAT scores, it's important. If you are scoring somewhere around 305 plus in GRE or somewhere around 680 plus in your GMAT, you're fine. Okay, you're absolutely fine for most of your things. If you're going for an Ivy League, definitely 325 plus in GRE is important. Definitely 700 plus in GMAT is important. Ivy League means Harvard, Caltech, Stanford, Wharton. For those kind of universities, 700 in GMAT is something is recommended minimum. 740 is something that people usually go for. Okay, IELTS, TOEFL, PT, these are English proficiency tests. It's also important if you are not going for GRE or GMAT oriented countries. For masters in management, you may or may not require GMAT, but IELTS, TOEFL or PT, any of these you will require for your English proficiency. There are few universities in UK which still gives you the benefit of doubt if your previous courses have been in English. So for that cases you don't require IELTS or TOEFL. But for most of the countries and most of the universities, TOEFL is more recommended. Then IELTS is also recommended. IELTS is good for only visa applications in Canada. For most of the other cases, TOEFL is far easier and better to do. And in this kind of current pandemic situation where centers are not opening, you must see TOEFL Home Edition. TOEFL Home Edition is something that we have personally reviewed, and we would recommend you to look into that. Okay. So yeah. So one important point I think I missed is volunteering. Okay. So volunteering, there are a lot of things that is opening, as a current opportunity. You can definitely go for, understanding the recession by IMF data. If you're good with economics and data analytics, go for data analytics into IMF data, understand why this, recession is coming. Okay. For others, you can definitely join the crowdfunding campaign for, let's say, Assam floods, for COVID situations, okay, for people who are stuck due to COVID. Okay, these are the few initiatives that you can take around. You can support other organizations, and this matters a lot. Trust me, in Australia when I was there, this volunteering considered to be one of the most important things that you can always look into it. Okay. Then IELTS, TOEFL, PTA score is there. Resume. Having a professional resume helps, though it's not something that you will spend your hours or months into this. Get a very decent standard professional resume done, and it will cost you 1,000 to 5,000 or 7,000 bucks, depends on who will be basically making your resume. I'll recommend you one free resource though. We do make a resume if you want to, but this is one of the resources that you can always look into. flowcv.io. Very professional, very standard, and very quick way to make a resume. In cover letters, have a very formatted cover. As I said, 3 paragraph is the max. Okay, 3 paragraph based cover letter you want to highlight, and don't write dear sir, dear ma'am. Try to write dear Professor Jain, let's say, okay, or dear Professor Singhvi, or whatever the professor name is. Surname is far better, or dear Dr. Jain or something like that. That something is important. Okay, and try to check your writing flow on Grammarly. Grammarly is an amazing tool. It will tell you whether your writing is formal or informal or aggressive, and that something will help you tone down your writing also, because your writing flow again matters. Okay. So yeah. So next thing is basically, if we go into this, yeah. So yeah, steps to get into your dream university. A lot of you have asked this. Let me quickly go through this. Profile building. Your internships, RA-ship or TA-ship, basically research or teaching assistantship, your papers, your projects, your certifications. KPMG Six Sigma certification even is important. Awards, academic, you came first, gold medal, a leadership award, or cultural award, sports award, volunteering, as I said, Assam floods, crowdfunding, or data analytics, contributing to IMF data and all. Okay. University shortlisting. Then comes university shortlisting. How do you want to shortlist your university? Okay, we'll spend a little bit more time in this, and then we'll quickly wrap this up. Geography. You need to understand, not all the university rankings is important for you. Those university ranking has a different purpose, and it's predominantly for the businesses and universities' sake. For students, don't fall for if I have to go to Texas versus California. Get into California. An average university in California will give you better results than a good university in Texas. That's the reason, because in California most of the companies are there, and local hirings are far more easier. Okay, so majority of the companies will look towards local hiring. So get into a good profile in an average university also, but into good location. Location is really important abroad. Okay. Second thing is prospect jobs. Okay, prospect jobs, or do some research on what you really want to become after your masters. If what kind of roles that you want to get into. Based on that, see in those job description what is really important, what kind of skills, what kind of degrees, what kind of experiences they want. Based on that, you can plan for your masters. That's something we do in profile evaluations. If you enroll in foreign language, something is an exercise that we usually do. But if you're doing by yourself, see the job descriptions of the target roles that you want to apply after 3 years or 4 years. Okay, then see what are the things that is currently you have and what you are missing. Okay, Based on that, plan for what kind of master courses would be important. If you're applying for finance, the general perception is MBA. No, don't go for an MBA usually if you're going for finance. Masters in finance is a far better course to go for finance. Okay, if you're going for consulting, MBA is not the only course. MIM, management consulting masters, are separate niche course which will be easier, less expensive, and far better result oriented. If you're going for business analytics, again MBA is not the thing. MSBA is far better, Masters of Science in Business Analysis. Okay, so that's something there. Funding. If you're going for funded, if you are planning for funded course, do look into the geographies and the colleges which are getting funds into those domains. You could see that by going into the projects of these universities or departments. If you're going for, let's say, Caltech, okay, in Caltech, you go to the Berkeley, okay, go to their department, go to their research, see what are the projects which are getting funded, then apply. Okay. Most of the universities have a funding budget. They will give you on first come first serve basis. So if you're applying for masters, apply in first or second round. Don't wait for third round. Okay, if you're going for third round, your profile has to be amazingly good to wait for third round. But try to get into first or second round if your profile is average or decent or weak. Okay, because that's where you have a chance to get admission and even scholarships. Okay. Course benefits. Understand there are courses like 2 years masters, 1 year masters, masters with co-op, masters with apprenticeships. So those are the things that you may want to look at it. Okay. So when you are considering, let's say, masters in engineering versus masters in co-op, masters in co-op will give you 6 months or a year long gap where you can do an apprenticeship or a internship of 6 months to a year, which will give you work experience, which will be easier for you to get a job. Okay. So if you're going for masters, try to look into if the masters have co-ops also or not, if they have internship provisions or not. Those things are really important. And apprenticeship opportunities. Duration of masters again is important. If you're going for 1 year masters, 18 months or 2 years, usually for longer visa, 18 months to 2 years is a better masters. 1 year masters will give you a little limited amount of visa. Okay. So if you're doing for 1 year masters, try to get 1 year masters with co-op or apprenticeship. So 1 year you will study, and the next year you will be doing internship, and that is again under your master's program only. So that way your visa provision will be far more stronger. Okay. And then visa and immigrations. US not always preferred if you are going for an MBA, because MBA, if it's a non-STEM MBA, you will get only 1 year of visa. If it's a STEM MBA which is limited, you will get 3 years of visa. Same way, visa immigration is important. If you're going to Australia, it's more of a PR oriented country for your job. It's good to go for Canada, Australia, Germany, Norway. Scandinavian countries are really good. Not many of you know, but Scandinavian countries have more opportunities, more jobs. And the only thing is learning a language. Learn French, learn German, learn Spanish, any one of those. Okay. And the kind of countries that learn that language, you will get 90% edge over most of the applicants. I can write that on piece of paper. You will get 9%, close to 9%, edge over most of the applicants who are applying, because most of the applicants don't bother to learn a language, and language is something most of the European countries prefer if we are going for management level roles, okay, or management level degrees. Okay, you have more chances to get scholarship. You have more chances to get into a good university, like a top-notch public funded university, and you will definitely get more funding for that. Okay. Then your test scores. Once you have identified all these things based on all these parameters, okay, so these are the parameters that we discussed. Once you have identified your parameters, you will get a bunch of 6 to 15 university list. That's a broad. 15 is a broad, 6 is very precise. So this is the average number of university list you will have in your hand, and based on that you can probably plan, and then you will start matching if they need GRE or GMAT, if they need IELTS or TOEFL. Okay, what is the scholarships timeline that they have? Okay, how much time that you need to have, and what kind of documents that you need to preparation. Then you will go into the application steps. So this particular phase will take 3 months. 3 months. This will take usually 1 to 1.5 months in general to do a proper research if you're doing all by yourself. And this is your, there's no time frame. If I have to put in time frame, 1 to 3 years, because this is a longer process. None of the consultants would talk to you about this, because this is a fundamental level thing. Okay, this is something you have to know it before you get into your masters. Okay, this is something that we can always help you to get there. Okay, save your time basically, and this is something again we can help you with. Okay, but these are the two things that is more to be done by you. These are the three things that you can get help, or even can do it by self efficiently. You just need to manage all the things properly. Okay, it's more about how you can manage your information and how you can find right piece of information. These are the next steps. So yeah, someone asked about the top biotech university. I've quickly done this. Okay, so these are the TU leagues. Okay, in Germany, I'll tell you a quick fact. TU and FH are public universities, the best universities to apply at. If you're applying for Germany, try to look for TU, Technical University, or FH. FH is most for vocational courses. If your courses have more vocational aspects, go for FH. If not, TU is better. Okay, just like FH Aachen is there, or HFT Berlin or Buick University is there. Your Rockstad is also good. TU Dresden is again, and all these universities are almost like free education. Germany, Austria, Norway, Sweden have mostly free education. Okay, for international students. Okay, so try to look for free education if you're going for these countries. Okay, or free education doesn't mean it's going to be absolutely free. The fees would be really low, like a 1,500 euro per semester. Okay, so that's nothing compared to 15,000 euros per year, which is like 7,500 euros per semester. So that's something you may want to pay for. Okay, and in that also you can get scholarships if you apply nicely. Okay, and if you're applying by a consultant, it would be difficult for you to get a scholarship. Okay? And that's the reason we started this platform of Foreign Admits, where you can get connected with the German, graduates and mentors, and or basically US, UK, Canada. All the mentors are there from the on the platform, and you can definitely get connected to them, and they will help you how you can apply for those courses and get funding also. That's something none of the consultants usually do in the market. Talking from my experience, when I was a student. Okay. So yeah, let's open up for the question. So now I'll hit on to the chat and I'll see what and all questions you guys have. Let me check. Okay. Scholarship options apart from university offered scholarships and their eligibility criteria. Good question, Muskan. So there are a bunch of scholarship options. If I have to, I'll type it down for you guys. I think that way you can easily probably take a screenshot. It's like Stanford GSB is there. Okay, one of the best ones is Erasmus Mundus. Okay, then Rhodes is also there. If you're going for public policy or even masters in UK, I think Chevening, that's how we pronounce, and SZHAR Shawarman, I think SCHWAR Shawarman Scholars is also there. Okay, so these are the few scholarships that you can easily look at it. I've just I'm sending everyone here. Okay, these are the few scholarships, but then there are a bunch of scholarships like ANZ Australian I think Australian Awards is also there. So these are the few scholarships that you can easily look for. Okay, and most of these scholarships open 9 to 12 months before. So if you're planning in the next 3 months to get such kind of scholarship, it would be next to impossible to get those kinds of scholarships. The process is lengthy. The reason being, you might need a letter of confirmation or an intent from the professor to whom you are applying that yes, if the student gets a scholarship, I'll be very happy to take the student for the master's course. That's something you may want to have. And that is the time taking process, because you will be emailing to the professor. It could be a month to 3 months that the professor may respond, and then the conversation goes along. Okay, so for those things, for all these external scholarships, it take a year, plan at least a year before, look out all the scholarships, see the processes for them. Many scholarships have a set specific process that you need to fill up the form. There would be interview, then you might have to have a letter of intent from the professor of any of the target country or universities that are partnered with that scholarship. For that, it will be time taking for you. Okay, so that's one of the cases. Let's look at another question. And yeah, so one good thing I think one of our team members said, there is an amazing tool that we have built. go to foreignadmits.com/scholarship. We have built a specific tool for all the students who are planning for scholarships. It will give you scholarships in month wise, which month is the deadline for what scholarship, and it will also give you a filter. If you are a bachelor student, if you're a master student, if you're looking for master scholarship, put a filter of bachelor's or masters so that you can get a master scholarship. Okay, so that's how you can easily do that. We have listed more than 6,000 scholarships, and these are, most of them are externals and university funded, so you can easily get an access to all these scholarships, and you can even subscribe. So tomorrow, if you're forgetting, okay, I'm not able to remind, what are the scholarships, just put a reminder. Just log into foreignadmits.com and subscribe to that. It will add on to your Google Calendar, and you don't have to remember. The Google Calendar will automatically make you remember. Okay. Yes. DART scholarship is there. DART scholarship usually asks for 2 years of work experience. Not necessarily with all. Okay. It depends on course to course. There are certain scholarships in DART which doesn't ask for experience. Depends on which course you're applying. So you may want to Google a little bit more information for the DART website. For Germany, DART website is the most authentic website that you will get. Okay, go to the DART website, filter the courses that you want to apply. Okay, and then see what kind of scholarships that you qualify for. Certain scholarship definitely needs, work experience. I agree to that, and for that you need to work. Okay. Next question. If you are going for masters in operations research, go for business operations. Okay, go for analytics, business analytics, or go for hardcore research analytics, or more towards supply chain. Those are the kind of internships that would be important for you. Okay, if you're going for OR is a subject which basically talks about supply chain. I've studied OR luckily in my mining engineering, because we also do take care of OR. And if you're going for OR, supply chain is one of the best places in which you should look for internships. And trust me, in US and Canada, there is a high likelihood that you may get an internship, because US and Canada supply chain are really sucks as of now. They need a lot of hardship, and if you propose a certain solution to one of these companies in US or Canada, you get a great internship opportunity. Okay. Masters of Science in Chemistry. Okay, it's a pretty broad question, but I'll tell you, if you're going for any STEM courses, Canada, Germany are the best, and then Norway, Sweden, Denmark are one of the amazing places to study Masters of Science in Chemistry. Because I had a small minor in chemistry in mining or geosciences, that's why I can tell you. Okay, Australia is okay in chemistry. Monash and a couple of universities are only good, but if you go for Europe, you will get a better exposure, or Canada. Okay, US has a great exposure, but for limited university, and it's going to be an expensive course if you're going for Masters in Science in Chemistry. If you're targeting Masters in Science in Chemistry, go for Texas Austin, go for this one, SIUC. These are great places to study research, basically, for Masters of Science in Chemistry. Okay. Application process for Cambridge University. I think it's a very Google-based question. You can just go to Google and find this out. It takes a lot of time to answer that question. Even I don't know currently as of now. I have to even refer to the Google. So university application process, as I said, it's very specific, but I'll tell you a broad aspect of it. You would need your letter of recommendations, your statement of purpose for the kind of course that you are applying. There would be an online application or an offline application, whichever you want to go for. For Cambridge, you need to fill it up. If there are scholarships, Cambridge has, I think there is one specific scholarship for Cambridge also is there. You can definitely look that up, and that's really good scholarship if you can get it. And that's how the general process will be. If you're going for masters by research, as I said, 2 years masters, you need to have a professor approval for that. Okay, and that's something will be time taken. INSEAD is, talking about INSEAD, certain pointers. If you're going for INSEAD, it's one of the best MBA programs in the world. Though it's a 1-year MBA, but the ROI for most of the INSEAD MBA is amazing. Okay, we are building an ROI tool talking about that. If you will put in the details, it will give you what course going to give you what kind of ROI. IESC again is an amazing management course programs. If you're going for management, these are the two best ones. Shivani, I think you are a very learned person in this, and thank God that you mentioned INSEAD and IISc. IESc has a good course in, I think, business and management. Okay, INSEAD is best for MBA. Don't go for INSEAD apart from MBA. MBA is the only program that NCET boasts about. But yeah, it will cost you somewhere around $80,000 to $85,000 in NCET. And the moment you apply for NCET, let me tell you one thing. Uh, this is something I learned from our students who have applied for NCET and gotten into. Okay. So in NCET, if you apply within, I think, next to 7 to 10 days, you will get a fee waiver or a scholarship application. You must fill that up properly so that you get a fee waiver of up to 100% also for NCET. Okay, usually students, our students have gotten like 10 to 50%, but it's really good. Okay. Russell Group, it's good. You have to focus on what kind of program that you're applying for Russell Group. Okay. Procedure for applying abroad, I think I've already covered that. Next is, does Government of India provide any scholarship? Yes. State government websites, go to there. Government of India, I think there is one MHRD site. You must go through that. The scholarships are very limited and small, but they do provide scholarships. Okay. Certain Indian, trust scholarship are KC Mahindra, Tata Trust, Lakshmipati Singhania Academy. So one good course, or I'll tell you two good things. Since you guys are BCom or BBA, or basically 15 years of graduation experience. Okay. For US, very limited universities take students with 15 years. For Canada, almost none takes for 15 years. Okay. The only countries then left is UK, Australia, and others. Okay. If you're going for good universities in US and Canada, you may have to go for 1 year of PG diploma, okay, or 2 years of MCom. Take my recommendation: don't do an MCom. Okay, don't do an MBA in India. Again, do a master's abroad. There's one good course I can recommend you. It's by JKLU. I've seen this course and it's pretty much interesting. I'll just write this course name here. J. Okay. This university in India, okay, have this PGD program. Okay. This will help you save 2 years of MCom pain, and this program has, I think, research, analytics, public policy base. So if you are going for public policy and you are just doing a BCom, okay, if you're going for economics and if you don't have a good scores in economics and don't have a good background, this 1 year of course would be really amazing for you to do it. Okay, we'll send you the details about this course. You can definitely look up to that. Okay, and this will help you. But for 15 years of education, it is a difficult choice. We have sent from Delhi University a lot of students with 15 years of education to masters in finance. So yeah, definitely it is possible, but it would be difficult. If you're going for a study related course due to education, yes, it's a great question. Europe and Australia. If you're going for masters in education or masters in international education, Europe and Australia are the best places. They need a lot of educators. There's a huge demand already there for educators. Okay, and there's a dearth of talent. So you can always get into that if you go for masters for education. If you get for bachelor's and internships, as I said, networking is the best thing. I got most of my internships through LinkedIn networking. I networked with a lot of people, showed them what I can do, what are the skills that I can help them about. Did a lot of free work for them, definitely, because to build a trust, you need to give something to get something. Okay? But I did a lot of free work for the good people, so it didn't harm me at all. Okay. Minimum work experience required if you have to pursue. Okay, if you're pursuing MBA in Stanford, Wharton, or Harvard, that's what we call it an Ivy League, M7 and all. Minimum 3 to 5 years. Minimum. If you're going as a fresher for a general MBA program, it would be very difficult. I would recommend a better solution for this. If you are a fresher and going for Harvard, Stanford, Wharton for your MBA, go for a deferred MBA program. Okay, I'll just write it down here. Okay, deferred MBA program is basically 2 plus 2. 2 years they'll give you an admission straightforward right now if you have applied. Okay, and then they'll ask you to join 2 years after. Okay, so if you're applying, let's say in 2021, you will be joining in 2023. 2 years you have to do a work experience, and then you can get into your. It's one of the most competitive programs, but it's really a good program for freshers for the top universities that you are targeting. Okay, and Don't just, again, as I'm saying, word of caution, don't go for the university name and the top universities. A lot of top university graduates go without a job, and the fees that you're gonna pay for Harvard, Stanford, or Wharton is going to be above $150,000, somewhere beyond 1 crore. That's something you will be paying. And scholarships, if you get it 50% to 80%, it's good. If you don't get it, rethink on your things. We have seen students who have paid like 1.5 crores for London Business School or something like that, and they have struggled to get a job. So plan well for your admits. You can get into a top university. That's something is hard work, but paying and making money is again a difficult thing. So once you're planning for a top university, do make up your mind what do you want to get out of that degree, and that's something they will anyway ask you. Okay, so next is, I hope you guys are enjoying this session. If you're enjoying the session, just a raise of hand. It'll mean a lot to me. And if my session sucks, you can write that to me personally, okay? And I can definitely improve. If there's any feedback, you can always write to me on a personal chat. Anything that you would want to cover right now also, I can give you an answer quickly, okay? Is there any difference of time period to look for jobs if I do 1 year masters rather than a 2 year masters? Uh, Let me understand this question. Yes. Okay. If you're going for 1 year masters in Canada, you will get only 1 year of visa. If you're going for 2 years masters in Canada, you will get 3 years of visa. So that's how it works like, okay? The lower, it's basically the number of credits that you will be covering. For 1 year masters, I think you're covering, let's say, X credits. For 2 years master, you're covering Y credits. And Y credits are more than X credits, you get more visa. That's how it works. And in US, however, it works if you're going for a STEM program. If you're going for a STEM program, you will get 3 years of OPT. If you're not going for a STEM program, you will get only 1 year of OPT. That is optional practical training. Okay. So in Canada, you get 2 to 3 years of visa. In Germany or any other country in Europe, you usually get 2 years of visa. And for that 90 days, you will get to start, to find out a job or to get into a job, and then you will be extended your visa. If you don't get a job in 90 days, it will be difficult. But let me give you one of the best information that we have gotten today. Okay? Two things. In Australia and UK, both governments have come forward to help international students. Okay? In Australia, we'll be sending a newsletter to all of you who have registered, a detailed information of what Australian government has done for most international students to protect your visa interest, so that if you don't get a job during the pandemic, you still get more visa extensions. How, where, why, that something is a long list. We'll send you a proper or detail over the email. So if you have registered, if we have your email address, you'll get an email probably next 2-3 days. Just wait for that. For UK, I'll give you a very simple, clear answer. They have said for people graduating in 2020, or I think 2021 also, okay, you get 2 years of visa straight. Don't need to, if you are not able to get a job in 90 days, that's fine. You can still spend 2 years. You can still find out a job. You don't need to pay for that yourself, but you will still get visas, okay, for 2 years. Okay. So that's something is an amazing information. Is masters the swiftest way to immigrate? Yes, it is a better way to immigrate because of the point system. UK get, I think, a 40-point system. In Australia, when I was there, masters get, I think, 7 points, PhD get 10 points, MBA get somewhere around 8 to 9 points. So these are the point-based systems. If you have a master's, you will get a better point. You will be on a higher priority to get your visa. It's basically masters versus multiple years of work experience. If you get a multiple years of work experience, you're still equivalent to masters. But imagine there will be people with multiple years of work experience and going for masters and then getting a PR. So that something is there. Okay. So I think one of the quick things you should look into your chat. One of our team members have shared. There's a form. You can fill it up. If you have more questions, if you want to get your profile evaluated, or probably get a one-to-one chat session with only the international mentors. Okay. We have like tons of amazing international mentors. You can get a one-to-one chat session with the international mentor for free. Okay. That something is exclusively for all the 28, 26 guys who are there and probably your college. It's exclusive to you guys. None of the other person's gonna get that. Okay. How to narrow down a country? Very, very good question. There are tons of countries. How do you narrow down? As I said, the visa prospects. If you have interest for longer visa, that's become simpler to prospect. If you're going for post-work visa, how the post-work visa looks like. If the post-work visa is difficult than PR, then you may have to look for the PR based country, or you may have to look for a work visa based country. Australia is more of a PR centric. It's still not work visa centric. Canada is still work visa centric. You can still get a work visa easily. Okay. Europe, again, work visa is easily there. Okay. Then the living expenses in countries, there are wide living expenses. US is cheaper, Europe is expensive, but the pay scale in Europe is also better. London is expensive, but the pay scale is not very much. London is like a cut to cut. If you're getting 45,000 pounds per annum, you will be spending somewhere around 40 to 42,000 pounds per annum. Hardly 1 to 3,000 pounds you can save if you still live decently. Okay. Then other things is language barrier. If you're not comfortable with English and you still want to go for Europe, go for Ireland. Ireland and London are the best places. Basically, UK is not part of Europe anymore. So yeah, UK is separate. If you considering you're in Europe, Ireland is best. If you have a German knowledge, Germany, predominantly, if you learn German or French or Spanish, most of the European countries you can easily roam around. Okay, even Luxembourg opens up. Okay, for that. And Luxembourg has an amazing pay scale. Like for a fresher, people get paid $120,000 euros also. We have friends from Ireland and mentors, from Ireland who have graduated with a BCom degree in Ireland, and they have been employed with Facebook, McKinsey, Bain, BCG, Deloitte at 70 to 90,000 euros per annum. Okay, and they make tons of saving in that. Their expense is less than 45,000 euros per annum. So imagine the kind of savings you can make. Okay. And the other thing that you may want to look at is the taxation. A lot of countries apart from India are very expensive on the tax side, but they give you a better healthcare. In Australia, when I was living there, my landlord, was an Indian. He get free education and free healthcare. If you're getting a PR, free education and free healthcare for your family members or your kids is going to be there. Is Europe good for bioinformatics and biotechnology? Oh yes, absolutely. Europe is good. Okay. US is better. I would recommend that, but US is very expensive. And if you're going for biotech, Canada is the number one. Okay, go for Canada. Healthcare, biotech, go for Canada, without a doubt. After that, Germany. If you're going for more of a sustainable fields, okay, sustainability, then Europe is amazing. It's the number one in sustainability. Okay. Do you go for 1 year PG diploma courses for maths honors that will be relevant for masters okay. If you're going for maths honors, yeah, 1 year PG diploma is also good. Go for an 18 months of PG diploma, okay, for better visa. Okay, that's something is there. But even a lot of people go for 1 year of PG diploma, and in that 1 year of extra visa time, you can still look for a job. Okay, you can get a job easily. But if you're going for academic courses, do look into it. What's the requirement? Okay. So guys, I might have to rush. I think I'm already short on time. If you have any further questions, you have our website. Okay, there's a pre-book call that you can definitely go ahead and book a call. Okay, just go ahead. And if you like the session, I'll try to drop you this link. It would really mean a lot to me if you can, probably write down to me and, share your reviews. I would be really, really happy if you'll share how we experience us. Go to our Facebook page or Google Foreign Admits. There's a Google review. Put down your honest reviews. If it sucks, also put it down. If it's valuable, put it down. Because I spend a lot of time talking to you students and I learn a lot from you guys. If you'll share the feedback, we'll make it far better for you. And one big announcement. We are launching our mentorship series. Go to our YouTube channel. Something which I have not covered or I have missed, you can get specific information. We are interviewing more than 30 country mentors, and they are the mentors who will be explaining all the things, process, application, visa, scholarship, loan, everything in details for their target university and country. Okay, and that's something you will get a complete information. Go to our YouTube page, subscribe it. I'm not talking to you just to subscribe it. You will get amazing value. I can write you down. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. Any questions? Else I'll be closing the session. Okay, what's the process of education loan? It's a little complicated. The best way, connect to us. we'll evaluate your profile and we'll connect you with the right loan provider, and that's absolutely free for all of you guys. We don't charge anything for loan guidance, visa guidance, forex guidance as such. That'll be complimentary for you guys. For education loan, you need to have a CIBIL score. Your father might need to have a CIBIL score, your ITR, your father's ITR, salary slips. All these things are important. Prodigy Finance, Leap Finance, Incred, SBI. There are a bunch of loan providers. Don't go easily for Credila. It's very expensive. Okay. Try to go for loan. Loan has two things. One is with collateral, without collateral. The moment you put in collateral, your loan interests go down. The moment you don't put in collateral, it's basically an unsecured loan, your interest will go up, and that's very normal. Okay, go for fixed rate and floating rate. If there's a bigger floating rate, it's a matter of concern. Don't go for very high floating rate, because if your fixed rate goes down, it will go down, but your floating rate is very high. So that's a little complicated. We can discuss this some other time, or probably you can book a call with us and we can help you out with all the explanation. And I'll definitely take this feedback. We'll make a video on the loan very soon.
So that's it, guys. Thank you and have a nice day.